So you've probably seen these horribly photoshopped and at times even AI-generated clickbait thumbnails of Buakaw taking on these ridiculous bodybuilders or clickbait favorite heavyweight fighters. And if you're not a huge or longtime kickboxing fan, thumbnails like these, videos like these, or like some highlight clips and edits on TikTok and Instagram is likely how you know Buakaw as a fighter. As this sort of badass Muay Thai dude who didn't take shit from anybody and took on absolutely everybody with an ultra aggressive style. And, while that is actually a pretty accurate description, it doesn't at all tell the full story of what made Buakaw great in his career. Because what is so interesting about Buakaw is that he became one of the best all-time pound-for-pound kickboxers by doing something that on the surface seems dumb. He entered the sport of kickboxing, but he kept fighting like it was Muay Thai, even though, of course, kickboxing is a totally different rule set and scoring system. He kept clinching with opponents, he would catch kicks and sweep his opponents. He was a bully in that regard. And even though those things like clinching and sweeping don't really score under K1 rules, he kept doing them anyway and kept winning fights. So he didn't become an all-time great by perfectly adapting to the sport and rule set of kickboxing in the way that other Thai fighters like Siddhachai have done. No, he became great by dragging those kickboxers into his world. And the biggest misconception that you'll get from some of the more casual takes or whatnot is that Buakaw is the Muay Thai GOAT, or, in the top 5 Muay Thai fighters of all time. And you have a guy like Khalil Roundtree Jr. in the UFC who claims to be this big-time Muay Thai purist. He had Buakaw on his GOAT list of Muay Thai fighters. In reality, no hate on Buakaw at all, but he's not realistically in the top 10, top 20 of Muay Thai fighters of all time. His real GOAT case is in the sport of kickboxing. That's where he had all his best accomplishments, and that's the rule set he fought under for the majority of his career. But people assume that he's the Muay Thai GOAT because he's Thai, fights in a Muay Thai style, and became a legend internationally. And he's the most universally recognized Thai fighter outside of Thailand or, these super hardcore Muay Thai purist fans, of course. And even though, yes, there's so much more to his career that people don't know about, highlight, or realize, the truth is that, yes, definitely the biggest piece of his legacy came from his years in K1 Max. And it's interesting because K1 Max was really not built for a guy like Buakaw. It was the lighter weight alternative in K1, which was for so long very popular because of the heavyweights, but it was a faster pace than the heavyweights, more focused on these longer combinations, scoring with clean connecting strikes. But when Buakaw entered K1 Max, he honestly just didn't care about all that. He wasn't trying to win like these clean boxing or kickboxing exchanges. He was trying to bully people. He was disrupting their rhythm, clinching to tire them out. And when you catch someone's kick and sweep them, even if it doesn't score under that rule set when people aren't used to it, it's demoralizing and it tires you out as well. And no, when I say he didn't care, I'm not saying he was reckless or, had no fight IQ or something like that. He just didn't care about fighting the way that the sport of kickboxing wanted him to fight, I guess. And even though he actually had fights under kickboxing rules prior to entering K1 Max in the New Japan Kickboxing Federation, the 2004 K1 Max tournament is where Buakaw really crashed the party and entered the world stage. In that 2004 tournament, in the final, he dominated the Japanese superstar Masato. Despite the judges calling it a draw after 3 rounds when Buakaw clearly won, he went and dominated the extra round as well. And this is interesting because, when I say that Buakaw is the GOAT of kickboxing, that's a very contentious statement, and I'm sure a lot of people are going to disagree with me. But when it comes to the GOAT debate in the lighter weight classes of the sport, if you ask, people who are fans of Muay Thai or Thai, they're going to say Buakaw. And if you ask anyone in Japan, they're going to say Masato. But for me, Buakaw and Masato are really that 1A and 1B in the GOAT debate. I mean, these guys fought each other twice, and they're 1-1 against each other. They've both accomplished everything there is to accomplish in the sport and beaten some of the top fighters of all time in doing so. So these two guys are the GOATs, in my opinion. They're tied for that number one spot. But this first fight between the two is really monumental in the sport. Although Masato would go on to win the rematch, this was an extremely decisive victory for Buakaw. And so after this, like I mentioned, instead of adapting to the kickboxing style, Buakaw essentially forced everybody else to adapt to his style. Because how are you going to fight a normal kickboxing fight when your opponent doesn't really care about the rule set or the scoring criteria of the sport that you're in? Like I mentioned, sweeping your opponent or dumping him in the clinch, continuing to fight in the clinch, under K1 rule set, that doesn't really score anything. But these techniques still had value for Buakaw because you're breaking the rhythm of your opponent, you're draining the energy of your opponent, and what does score in K1 is clean scoring strikes. So if something is blocked, even partially, it's not going to necessarily score as much as something that lands clean, whether it's to the head, the body, or the legs. Whereas in Muay Thai, a lot of kicks matter more than punches in scoring, and even if a body kick is blocked on the arms, that's going to score in Muay Thai, whereas in kickboxing, that doesn't score because it's blocked. And punches matter the same amount as kicks when it comes to scoring. As long as it lands clean, punches and kicks are the same. But again, Buakaw just didn't care. He's walking through punches that landed clean on him, and he's blasting these kicks to the body that are landing on his opponent's arms. He doesn't care that they don't score. He's just continuing to break down his opponent. However, as you'll see at certain points in Buakaw's career, this whole, not caring shtick did work against him, because having little regard for the rule set and scoring criteria ended up costing him some of his closest and most controversial decision losses, like those against Albert Kraus, or his fight in the K1 Max 2014 final against Enrico Kehl. After 3 rounds, the fight was scored a draw, and Buakaw was so frustrated with the scoring that he actually walked out before the extra round started and forfeited the match, giving Enrico Kehl the victory. And yes, you'll hear from the Thai fans, the Muay Thai purists and whatnot, that Buakaw was always robbed. You'll see people legitimately argue in comment sections that Buakaw never really lost a fight in kickboxing. There were definitely times when Buakaw was absolutely robbed. I mentioned that first fight against Masato where he clearly won. They made it go to an extra round. He ended up winning anyway, but that's insanely suspect. And then there's that notable fight in 2009 against Andy Sauer. He very decisively won each of the 3 rounds, but it was scored a draw, went to an extra round, and Andy Sauer did win that extra round, so Buakaw lost the fight. So there are absolutely cases where he was clearly robbed, but a lot of it does actually boil down to the fact that the scoring criteria is just different in kickboxing. So yeah, if you're looking at it through a Muay Thai lens, then yes, it looks as though Buakaw won these fights and got robbed, but the Enrico Kehl fight is a great example, because this was a rematch. Buakaw and Enrico Kehl fought each other in Muay Thai first, and Buakaw dominated that fight. But when they fight again under kickboxing, it's a different scoring criteria. And with some of Buakaw's other losses, this is something that comes into play, because when clinching and sweeping don't score in a kickboxing fight, but he spends so much of the fight in the clinch and catching kicks and sweeping, there's not much fight going on to score, so it becomes very difficult to score. And the fight with Enrico Kehl was exactly like this. Almost, most of the fight was fought in the clinch, but this is essentially treated as a stalemate for scoring. So how do you score this? So I actually think a draw in this case was a fair decision. Obviously, Buakaw and his team didn't think so, and they walked out. But this is another example where it sort of came back to bite him. So these examples just show that the same thing that made Buakaw so special and so great also made his career a little bit messy and, gave him a few asterisks on his record with some of these very close and very controversial decision losses. And, I've said again and again that, Buakaw didn't care, Buakaw didn't adapt, but there were times when he absolutely did show that he was adapting to the kickboxing rule set, especially in the 2006 final when he won his second K1 Max World title, because his boxing and long boxing combinations improved greatly. And he lit up Andy Sauer, also arguably in the GOAT debate, with his boxing to win the final in that tournament. So this is not at all to discredit Buakaw, because, when you say, he didn't care, it makes it seem like, he was a, low fight IQ guy or reckless or whatever. But no, he was such a skilled fighter and such a smart fighter, but he wanted to fight his fight in his way. And more often than not, that worked out for him. So even though, no, Khalil Roundtree's wrong, the casuals are wrong, Buakaw really didn't fight that much in Muay Thai in his career. He did win some world titles in Muay Thai, but the bulk of his career was under the kickboxing rule set, to the point where when he comes back and does some comeback fights now, he actually has these under kickboxing rules, even when he is fighting in Rajadamnern Stadium, the most prestigious stadium in Muay Thai. He has those fights under the K1 rule set. So even though, no, he's not the Muay Thai GOAT, he's arguably the kickboxing GOAT, and that's because he never stopped being a Muay Thai fighter, even when crossing over to kickboxing. But as always, let me know what you think. Do you agree that Buakaw's the GOAT of kickboxing? Do you have Masato ahead of him or somebody in a different era? Do you think Buakaw truly was robbed in all those fights? I see that argument quite a bit. Let me know your opinion on literally anything else you have in regard to Buakaw and the sport of kickboxing and K1 Max. But above all else, you're going to want to go ahead and like this video, subscribe to the channel, and we will keep them coming.